Well, hello, everyone. Welcome in. It's the Crowded Booth here on a Thursday night. Not our typical show times, but obviously the Labor Day weekend and the long college football weekend that we're not complaining about threw off our timing a little bit. But hey, we're back as we preview week number 2. My name's Bryce Koon. I've got Will Manis waiting in the wings as we get ready to talk some of the big games to watch. And as always, we put our best bets on the line. Lock it in. Stay tuned. You're watching the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
Welcome in. My name is Bryce Koon alongside Will Manis as we get ready to talk week 2 of college football. Will, watered down slate in terms of the excitement factor, but it's college football and I'm not going to complain. We just had to go through the desert of trying to get through this season. Some good games, maybe some underrated games, which does happen every single year when we have slates like this that are not fresh off that week 1 where it's a marquee game each night.
Yeah, it's still a good slate. I think, if you want to rank the first 3 weeks, I think it definitely tops week 0. Obviously, you had the big marquee matchup, Florida State, Georgia Tech in week 0. And I think this week you got Texas, Michigan, at least as far as brands go. I think that at the top, the main event might look better for week 2. But like you said, there's still some good games. We're going to get to a few of them. Our best bets, the ones that from what it looks like, I think those will be some good games. And then we got some other games that we're going to be watching. And I think we've got a strong lineup of games.
Strong lineup. Remember, we get all of our bets per betonline.ag. Make sure you check them out. Use code BELIEVE for a nice little match deposit over there. Will, it's going to be fun. We don't have Ralph with us here tonight. He's patrolling the streets of Columbus, Georgia in his brown truck. So he couldn't make it in, but it's okay. He'll be with us once again on Monday.
Does he have his lizard tech on? That's what I want to know.
That's what we need to know. Does he have the lizard tech on? If not, then he needs to get that on. Maybe he would have gone faster if he was wearing the lizard tech.
Maybe.
That, you need all the grip you can get, I guess, driving a UPS truck. So let's talk. We have 3 games in the docket that we're going to preview and take a look at. Obviously, like I said, we have games to watch individually and then our best bets of the weekend. Quick reminder on those best bets. The standings currently, myself and Ralph tied it for first at 1-1. Will is 0-2. Don't let that fool anybody. The Will, I don't remember. We need to go back and look at the spreadsheet. What you started out as, and you just went
started
on
1-4.
And then I think like week 6 through like 11, you didn't lose.
I think I won like 5 in a row.
Yeah, nuts. Absolutely nuts.
So, yeah, it takes a few weeks to figure out who teams are. I think we've learned that the hard way, talking to a lot of folks. But
well, you should know everything there is possible to know and never be wrong. It is what it is. So, yeah, no, that's good stuff. All right, let's talk the first game on the docket. And I love this. Hopefully Ralph is using that 2-lane koozie for whatever non-alcoholic drink he has with him tonight. Knowing Ralph, he's probably not using
it. Who knows what he's drinking tonight?
Yeah, who knows what he's drinking to get through that ride. Will said it. I didn't. All right, so let's talk it here, though.
What did I say? I didn't say anything.
I don't know what you said. All right, let's talk here. Kind of the first game on the docket that we'll go to. Will, you look at it right here, and I'm just going to go in order of what we've got these banners. Showdown in Charlotte. This is one ACC versus SEC. I think a lot of people were excited about this one heading into the season. I think there's a lot of reason for excitement to watch this game on Saturday. Tennessee enters as a 10-point favorite against North Carolina State. This show has been high on NC State, some more than others, with Ralph putting them as their ACC champion. Yes. Dev says Battle of Midway. We'll see. I'll set the tone. I'll set the stage here. NC State struggled, to say the least. Almost lost to Western Carolina. They were able to pull away late and win that football game. The biggest thing, though, for Dave Doran's crew, some new faces on that roster. They found a way to win. They survived and advanced where other teams didn't. So they do not have a loss on their record quite yet. But my take is with NC State, you have a veteran quarterback, you've got a veteran running back, one of the best receivers in the ACC in Casey Concepcion, a solid defense. But Will, you're going up against a guy that nationally people think is going to pop off. I even said on a show today down here in Baton Rouge, I think that this could be Nico's coming out game in terms of he gets the limelight, he gets the spotlight. The Vols, man, they got a solid defense. They've got Nico. They've got some weapons. How do you see this one shaking out, and what's your take on it?
Well, yeah, I really like Tennessee. I really like that roster Josh Heupel's built. You mentioned Nico Yamaleava. I mean, he looks the part, right? He's certainly positioning himself for a Heisman type season. And you look at Tennessee's schedule, I think he's got a favorable schedule to put up some big numbers. But for North Carolina State, they certainly pose some problems. You mentioned Kevin Concepcion. He's a dude. I mean, against Western Carolina, 9 catches, 121 yards, 3 touchdowns. Tennessee, I think I'll probably catch some flack from our Tennessee buddy, but I feel like their secondary is kind of the problem. If their defense has a problem, it will be in that secondary. I really like the front seven, led by what's his name, James Pierce. I'm probably the wrong name. Defensive end. I think I've been on here saying he's probably going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. He could be. Really good coming off the edge. He'll cause problems for Grayson McCall all night. Going back to that Western Carolina game, the stat that really stands out to me is Grayson McCall had to throw it 40 times.
Yeah.
And he was 26 of 40. And, you know, if you follow Grayson McCall, if you've watched him, that's not much of a surprise. He's not pinpoint accurate. At Coastal Carolina, he was asked to run the ball a lot. He didn't run it well against Western Carolina, just 16 yards. But he took care of the ball. He threw 1 interception to 3 touchdowns. That's a good ratio. I think this might be the most fun game of the weekend. I think it certainly has that potential. But, you know, if we're going to make a pick here, I'm going to take Tennessee and take them to cover that 10-point spread. I think Tennessee, I put them in my playoff. And if they're going to make the playoff, they've certainly got to win this game.
Albert says he's going to take Tennessee and the points. I tend to lean that way as well. One battle, and Dr. Bob kind of points this out, I think this is going to be interesting. We talk a lot about the quarterbacks in this game. Grayson McCall has played a ton of college football. Nico kind of in his first real action. He did play in that bowl game against Iowa, but this is kind of his first opportunity he's the guy. They dominated Chattanooga, but I went back and watched the game and was listening to some commentators, I guess you could say, on Tennessee football. And the biggest thing was his decisiveness. When you go back and watch it, he was putting the ball in a nice rhythm. He knew where he wanted to go. They had good pre-snap reads. Now, look, that's great. Chattanooga, look, I spent some time in the SoCon. That's a really, really good conference. Chattanooga is one of the better, teams in that conference, one of the better FCS teams, top 20 FCS team in the country. So it's not a pushover by any means, and they've got some potential NFL players on that roster. But the decisiveness from that now to, competition gets better. What does that look like? That'll be something I'm keeping an eye on. But the quarterback position is something we've been talking about. And Dr. Bob brings this up. Jordan Waters, a Duke transfer, is going to have to get yards for NC State to stay in it. I agree. I think that one of the stats that could tell you how this game is going to turn out is how does each team fare on the ground? Because if either team is one-dimensional, that's where we could see NC State, maybe pull the upset with a more veteran quarterback. If Nico's asked to shoulder the load, now I'm not saying he can't. If Nico has to shoulder and throw this ball 35, 40, 45 times and they win, star in the making, which I think he's going to be a stud anyways. But Dylan Sampson for Tennessee, solid running back, had 124 yards on 12 carries against Chattanooga. They've got a nice stable of backs. And then obviously Jordan Waters with NC State. I mean, let's talk about that for a second, Will. I mean, 2 good quarterbacks, one young, one old, but got to stay balanced because these are 2 teams that I think defensively can make some plays on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, we know how well NC State's coached, especially on the defense side of the ball. Head coach Dave Doran, with a former defensive coordinator, he's got that background. So NC State's defense is going to be ready to go. But we've seen this Josh Heupel scheme that has started to kind of take off, this veer and shoot. It's really started to take off, spreading defenses out. Causes a lot of problems. And there's not really anybody in the ACC that runs that. So this will be completely different for NC State. You mentioned Jordan Waters. He had 124 yards on the ground against Western Carolina as well, but that was on 20 carries, and he busted a long one for 50 yards. So not as good average wise as Dylan Sampson did, but um, I think the difference, like you said, is going to be in the running game. Tennessee had 8 different rushers. I mean, they'll do it in a lot of different ways. Brew McCoy, the wide receiver, he had a carry, so they're going to do it with a lot of different guys. Um, and I think that run game will be the difference in this game.
It'll be interesting to see. Like you mentioned, I mean, is Nico ready for the prime time, for the limelight? And you get a chance of that against a solid opponent. I don't think NC State's great. I think that they can be, and we talked about this on, I guess it was Tuesday now. We talked about on Tuesday night, NC State can be and has a path to be in Charlotte at the end of the season. They're going to be playing in Charlotte, obviously, for this game. So maybe some home cooking there for them as well. But Tennessee's going to travel well, I believe. And that stadium's going to be passed out.
Charlotte's not very
not
far.
passed out, packed out. Yeah.
Charlotte's not very
drive.
far.
So
there'll be a lot of Tennessee fans.
I like Tennessee -10 against NC State. Should be a fun one though. And like you said, maybe we'll talk about it, but maybe the most competitive game of the weekend could be. We'll talk about it. We'll see. All right, let's move on to the next one. Will, you can throw that one up there. I've got it on my iPad here as we kind of rock and roll. This line has shifted. I mean, it has shifted down. I believe today when I looked at it, Will, it was at 7.5. Before showtime, it's dropped down to 7 points. Texas against Michigan. Look, this is one that coming into the season, everyone was excited about. 2 playoff teams last year, the national champion and one of the runner-ups, getting to face off in the regular season. This is what we love about this sport, getting to see primetime non-conference matchups like this in the regular season. We may not see a lot of those going forward, by the way. But Texas favored on the road here against Michigan. Well, it's pretty simple for me here. Michigan's really good defensively still, really has a solid defense. But if the offense for Michigan cannot sustain drives, at some point Texas is going to explode. And I just don't know how long that defense for Michigan can hold down the Longhorns to allow that offense to really kind of kickstart. Now, if Michigan starts fast offensively, that is the best case scenario. But we were texting back and forth today. I almost wanted to take Michigan plus 7.5, and I don't know how I feel about it right now. I do have faith in that Wolverine defense, but I just don't feel good about Michigan's offense heading into this one.
No, I don't feel good about their offense either. The plan was coming into the season, Alex Orji would be the starting quarterback. It ended up being Davis Warren. He won that job. We'll certainly see Alex Orji because he threw 2 passes against Fresno and he ran it 5 times. Certainly his legs are a huge weapon that I'm sure Michigan will want to use. But Davis Warren only looks serviceable. I mean, he's a former walk-on, so not a highly recruited guy, but he really only looks serviceable against Fresno. And Fresno it was a really tough opponent for them to draw week 1. Fresno has, I was reading today, I think Michigan was the first team to hold them under 30, I think, or something crazy since before COVID, I think. So this is a team that has been lighting up scoreboards the last several years, and the Michigan defense held them to 10. So yeah, the Michigan defense is going to show up, but I'm with you. I'm worried about them stopping the Texas offense. That looked really good against Colorado State, but we've been talking about it, texting about it. We don't think Colorado State is very good at all. But the question for Texas was, what are they going to have at running back? The freshman Jarrett Gibson and what is he? Messing with my clicks here. The junior Jaden Blue. They looked really good. Both of them averaging over 5 yards a carry. Gibson getting over that 6.5 yards a carry mark. We know how good Texas is, and I think their defense might be a little bit underrated. Because of all the attentions on their offense, it's a nasty defense, and they could make it a long game for Michigan.
I mean, obviously, and here's a trivia thing: Mikey King is the quarterback for Fresno State, former UCF quarterback, right? I'm right in that.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, Fresno State, like you mentioned, that's a tough first game opponent, especially for a team that has a lot of unknowns in Michigan in terms of what they're going to be able to bring to the table. Well, I'm taking Texas and the 7 points here. I did come up with that because I just think that the quarterback gap is just too much. I respect what Michigan does defensively. I think they're going to be able to limit what Texas can do. Texas ran the ball 41 times against Colorado State. I don't think the Longhorns run the ball 41 times against Michigan. If they run the ball 41 times against Michigan, then Michigan needs to bow out of the playoff race now. I think quarterback differential is going to make a big difference here. Quinn Ewers is going to make some plays. I don't know what the over-under is on this game, but I could see a couple of touchdowns slipping through the cracks of this vaunted Michigan defense, and that just being enough, where you could see a game of like a 27-17 final. I mean, something that's low scoring. Tennessee doesn't need to put up, or Texas doesn't need to put up a ton of points, and Michigan just can't find that explosive play consistently. I don't know. That's where I sit with this. I think these are two good football teams, two teams we could see in the playoff. I didn't have Michigan in my playoff. I believe you did. I don't know. Like Dr. Bob says this right here, and I'll bring this up. He says, too bad Michigan couldn't schedule this game in mid-November at night. True. Also, Michigan would probably have a better idea who they are offensively at that point. It's just too early in the season. I'm going to go with the more certain thing. I'm taking Texas to cover.
Yep, and I'm taking Texas too for the same reasons. Michigan, they don't know who they are because who they thought they were going to be coming into the season, that obviously had to change with their quarterback situation. And you ask the over-under, it's 42.5. I think I like Texas in the over because Texas can score. Texas can score. But like I'm with you. How many times can Michigan stop Texas? I think there's too many weapons for Texas.
I would probably take the over in that, and I think it's largely due to Texas. I'm going to say this and clip it and say we have terrible takes, whatever you want. I don't know if Michigan gets out of the teens in this game. Like, I could see 27-19, 28-19 final, like something like that, where it's, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't feel like we saw anything out of Michigan in that game to really make me feel confident saying they can score with Texas.
Yeah,
the Dr. Pepper Fansville. Dev says the Dr. Pepper Fansville ad means that Ewers will lay an egg. Dev, they just missed a massive opportunity. Larry Culpepper, bring him back. Like, just bring him back.
I mean, I'll say this, Dev, that's better analysis than we just gave in the last 7 minutes of rambling about this game.
That's true. That's true. Any final thoughts on that game? I mean, I don't know. This one kind of has the potential to get ugly. It's a big stage for both of these teams, especially Michigan. I had them making the playoff. I think I had them as my 9 seed, so obviously not winning the Big Ten. This is a big opportunity for them. It's big noon kickoff. It's a big game, early season game against a marquee opponent. Mm-hmm.
Michigan really needs to show up and not get blown out at home. But this one, I think it has the potential to be a blowout.
C Lane says parlay the point and over, points and over. And then Gavin says this, and I wanted to end this kind of the segment of Michigan, Texas with this. Donovan Edwards will have to go off. You go back and look at the Colorado State game. Texas's run defense wasn't a strength in that game. Here's the path to a perceived upset, Will. We can talk about this for a second. If Michigan wins this game, and I'll give you a stat, if they average 4.2, 4.3 yards per carry and play the field position game, they play for the long game. Like they play to have a chance to win this game in the fourth quarter. If they could do that and maybe grind down this Texas defense and keep that offense off the field, that to me would be a path to an upset.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because that's certainly the Jim Harbaugh strategy, right? I think we saw him do that a couple times last year. Is that what Sharon Moore is going to want to do? We're going to learn a lot about Michigan in this game. Who are they under Sharon Moore? Is he going to try to light up the scoreboard, or is he going to play field position and be conservative? What does this Michigan offense look like with a week to evaluate how they played against a good Fresno team, a really good Mountain West Fresno team? We're going to learn a lot. We're going to learn a lot from this one.
No, I like it. All right, game number 3 on the docket, the one that we're going to preview and pick. It goes over to Stillwater, where the Fighting Mike Gundys take on the Fighting Sam Pittmans. If these two men got in a cage and fought, I would pay to see that. That'd be pay-per-view content.
We need a mud wrestling match between Sam Pittman and Mike Gundy. That would get nasty.
That would
we'd have to check pockets before we let them start mud wrestling, because
not safe for work content if you watch
I'm
that,
not
'cause
putting
you know
anything
what's
past
happening.
these two jokers. I mean, in a fight,
Arkansas State, I mean, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, you know, this game's at the same time as the Texas Michigan game, so I feel like a lot of eyes are going to be on that one. I, I don't, I,
definitely.
I don't want to get ahead of myself and say that Arkansas is good. I think they're better than maybe we just
Hey,
think they are on paper.
they scored 70. What I say last week about Auburn,
They're
scoring
bad.
70 is impressive. I don't care who you're playing.
Talon Green, dynamic, brings a different skill set, I think, with what Petrino and this offense want to use. I mean, it's a noon kick over there. But here's the thing. I mean, well, we talked about this when we talked about Auburn tonight. Like, when you schedule FCS teams, we'll talk Arkansas for a second. We'll move over to Oklahoma State. When you schedule these games, that's how it's supposed to happen. That's how
Mhm.
the big brother of the state is supposed to beat up on the little brother of the state. You know, the FCS program. So Talon Green, he was nearly flawless. 229 passing yards, 2 scores, 88 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Will, you were
Completed
talking before.
70% of his passes.
He did. I don't know what he averaged per carry, but I'm sure that could be factored in as well. Uh, they almost had 700
You want
yards.
to know? I
of
got it
total
right here.
offense. Go ahead. What do you have?
14.7.
That's elite. That's elite.
That means
That's
something to some people.
high level play. I think Arkansas, if they can find a way to get enough chunk plays, they could win this football game. I don't think this is a game they can't win, but I'm excited to see what they look at now against a real team in Oklahoma State. So let's talk Arkansas real quick. Maybe your takeaway from last week and what maybe you expect to see out of this offense.
Well, I don't know how much you can take away winning 70-0.
Yeah.
As Brian Kelly said the other day, I don't think it does a lot of good. You don't learn a lot, especially if you don't watch the game like I did not do. I didn't even. I've seen no clips from this game. All I'm looking at is just the numbers, and
Mhm.
like you said, it's what you expect. Arkansas over 400 passing yards. They ran it for 279 yards. That all looks good on paper, but what's it going to look like against against a team who I think is going to have one of the best defenses in the Big 12, which feels weird to say about Oklahoma State, but that's how the Big 12 is now. It's a defensive league.
Mhm.
I think this game is really more about Oklahoma State. I mean, obviously they have much higher expectations coming into the season. They're a touchdown favorite at home against the team that not a lot of people think is going to play in a bowl game. I think that
Yeah.
is significant. But it's Oklahoma State's offense. I mean, it's really a one-man show with Ollie Gordon. Alan Bowman, dude needs to get a job. He's been playing college football. He was Patrick Mahomes' replacement at Texas Tech. That's how long he's been playing college football.
Patrick Mahomes enters year 8 in the NFL, by the way.
Bowman has played. This is his 7th year. And sure, he looked good against South Dakota State, but it's South Dakota State. But offensively, and you know, when I've thought about Bobby Petrino, I think about what he looked like at Arkansas, 10 years ago when he was the head coach. They aired it out a lot, and that's probably what you'll see more of. Probably some more quarterback run than we're used to. Talon Green showing he could run, he could use his legs. The Boise State transfer, Talon Green. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I do. I wonder if Arkansas's defense can keep them in this game. I think it's going to be a matter of, can Arkansas get enough first downs? Kind of like you said about Michigan, can they play the field position? Can they run it effectively enough just to give their defense a breather? So I think it's going to be close. But if I'm going to make a pick, I'm going to take Arkansas plus 7.5. And I have a slight lean that Arkansas is going to win this game.
I'm almost there with you. I'm going to take Oklahoma State to win in a close one, but I do like Arkansas plus 7.5. Kind of little fun facts for our statistician there, Dr. Bob. First time these two teams have faced off in 44 years. So this was a series that we saw every single year, but from 62 to 80. They've regularly played this. This is a 47th all-time matchup. Arkansas leads that 30-15 and 1 in this series. But Here's what we say.
Put a caveat on that because they played this when Arkansas was at their peak.
That is also true. That is also true. Oklahoma State, if Alan Bowman doesn't screw up, they should win this game.
Yeah.
And that might be harsh, but if he just takes care of the football, they should win. Because I think Arkansas, I think Taylor Green is going to be. I think Arkansas this year is going to be fun to watch each week in and week out. Because I think Taylor Green's a good quarterback and a fun player to watch. And look, let's don't diminish what Oklahoma State did last week. Like, once again, give a little love to the FCS. They beat a South Dakota State team that has been in and around the national title conversation at that level, and probably better than about 10 to 15 FBS teams, if we're being real. I mean, they're a really, really good team. And Oklahoma State, this is why I think they win, Will. Oklahoma State had to go through some adversity in week one. They had to grind out it was a 25-point win, I believe it was.
44-20 was the final.
44-20 win. They had a little resistance where Arkansas didn't get that. So I like Arkansas to cover in this game. But the jump from a bottom tier SWAC team to a team that we could see in the playoff and definitely a Big 12 title contender, that's pretty large. And so I think it's going to be a fun game. I will tell you this. I don't know what Bet Online has the under in. I'm inclined to take it if it is where around I think it is. I don't know. Where is that room or Will?
Let's see. It is 62.5.
Okay, so I'll just tell you, like, my score prediction for this one was like Oklahoma State 32, Arkansas 26. Like, that was my final score.
I was thinking less. I was thinking both teams scoring in the 20s.
Dev says he's taking OK State to win, but they do not cover. I wonder how much Ollie Gordon will average a carry. There's no way. 62.5, he says. And then Dr. Bob says Boone Pickens Stadium is a factor too. Nice home field advantage. Yeah, one of the more underrated home environments in the country.
Yes, Dev, per Bet Online, 62.5. That's the total. I was thinking in the 20s. But that, of course, is all dependent on Arkansas's defense.
Yeah.
Didn't learn anything about them last week.
Yeah, I mean, do we really know? Defensive line, they've got some guys. But once again, we just don't know. Well, I'm taking Oklahoma State to win, Arkansas to cover. I'm going with what I feel like is maybe the more complete team heading into this matchup. And I know you kind of said your piece already. But I don't think either of us would be surprised if Arkansas won this game.
No, I don't think so. And I think more of my pick has to do with my disdain for Alan Bowman.
Yeah, well, we heard that
Joker's played college football for 7 years and has done a whole lot of nothing. So.
All right, let's get to our games to watch. Before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back because it's no Ralph tonight. So we don't want to just bore you all with just us talking the entire time. We know people love to hear Ralph speak. So we'll be right back. We'll catch you here right after this message.
Your soap is ugh, and your body wash is a synthetic detergent. But you're not a dish. You're a man. Switch to Dr. Squatch Natural Soap for Men. For men who build things. Open pickle jars on the first try. Slay dragons. And let their daughters braid their hair. Men who like to feel good and smell. Titillating. Dr. Squatch takes you places you never thought you'd go. Naked.
All right, welcome you back in. No, Gavin, we will not be talking about Iowa State. It pains me to know that game's going to be on CBS, and we're going to hear that jingle and know that that's going to be there. Just brutal. I have literally no words. And also, I just want to say this right now: the SEC on ABC music is awful, and
I don't like it.
For people saying it doesn't matter, it does, because the reason we all love this sport is because we can sit here. I mean, for the SEC fans at least, we can sit here and we can hear that jingle, and we know, hey, we're about to hang out with the family, watch a really good football game on TV, not watch Rutgers versus Mother Mary's School of the Blind or whatever game they're going to put on there this fall.
Iowa?
Marquee ones. Yeah, I don't hate any college football teams. I hate Iowa. Like, I just cannot stand them. It's awful. I can't stand it. Okay, let's get to our games to watch. Now, we're not going to go back and forth. This is more of just, hey, we're going to talk about the game and then let the other person have maybe one or two sentences on it. So, Will, I'll let you go first here. What is your game to watch and why?
I'm taking Appalachian State at Clemson. Now, Clemson's a 17.5-point home favorite in this one, and I'm watching it really because it has everything to do with Clemson. How does Clemson respond from just getting pantsed in the second half by Georgia? I mean, it was ugly. It was brutal. We watched the video the other night about their offensive line not having any clue where to go. Made me feel dumb for talking up how great of a hire Matt Luke was, and then in week 1 they go out and do something like that. But how do they respond? How does Dabo and his staff respond? Because obviously they're, I don't want to say hot seat yet, but the pressure's on. The pressure's cooking for them.
Yeah.
Especially with a loss to Georgia, you kind of feel like they kind of have to win every game left on their schedule if they're going to make the playoff. And the ACC, after week 0, week 1, kind of feels like it's pretty wide open. So they have to make a statement and right the ship. I don't necessarily think they have to cover this 17-point spread, but they have to look much improved, and they should, because they should have the roster advantage on paper against App State, who, you got to remember, they're one of the top teams in the Sun Belt. They're going to be tough. But I just want to see. That's why I'm watching this game.
Yeah. I will say this: Joey Aguilar, really, really good quarterback, probably one of the better Group of 5 quarterbacks there with App State. He's experienced. App State's bringing an experienced team into the place they call Death Valley up there in Clemson, South Carolina. So this could be a fun game. I have seen a lot of people will really be in on App State plus 17. I don't know if that's just kind of getting to the hype or trying to take advantage of what they saw last weekend. But I don't know, man. This is going to be a fun matchup. And, Dr. Bob brings a good point here, because if Dabo loses this one, the folks in Pickens County will send him back to Mayberry. Is it nuts to think about, okay? Because Florida State's off this week. If Clemson loses this game, the 2 perceived top favorites, and I think Clemson, Florida State were the betting odd favorites. I think Miami was in third, whichever platform you are using. The 2 perceived favorites, you could make an argument the only path to making the playoff for them is to win the ACC. And Florida State probably can't win the ACC. I mean, Clemson doesn't have a conference loss, but you're not getting the at-large bid if you have 2 losses. That's a crazy concept to think about.
Florida State already with 2 conference losses, they're kind of out of it at this point. I mean,
they have to win out and hope for help. I mean, that's literally what they have to do. That's a good one. That's gonna be a fun one. What time is this game, by the way?
I don't even know. I think it's a night game. Let's see.
Ooh.
I don't even know. I say I'm going to be watching it. I don't even know what time it is. What's
going on?
This is a 8:00 kick on the ACC network.
That's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun one.
And looking at the rest of the slate, there'll be a lot of eyes on this game. So if Clemson flops, everybody's going to know. Everybody will be watching it.
Yeah. And I will say this too: if Clemson's going to be a major player this year, Cade Klubnik, I know App State's good. Like, App State's a solid, well-coached football team. Cade Klubnik needs to go off. Like, they need to have a performance where they just dominate somebody. I think it's gonna be hard to do, though. I'm tempted at App State plus 17 because I just don't know. But Clemson's defensive front is nasty, and I don't know if Aguilar doesn't see that week in, week out. Dr. Bob says Clemson 35, App State 14. Will, do you want to put up a prediction for the final score of this one?
I don't know about final score. I could see it going a couple ways. I'm going to take Clemson to cover this. I'm going to fade the public with this.
Okay.
But it could be ugly. I think the under is, if you want to bet on this game, I feel like the under might be your best bet here. Because like you said, Clemson's defense may very well pitch a shutout in this game. And Clemson's offense, I worry about them. I just worry about them putting up points. Dr. Bob says Clemson is a different team at home. They absolutely are. But, it's kind of the same story for them as last year. They don't really have playmakers. Antonio Williams had a nice game against Georgia. He'll be probably be their top receiver this year. Phil Maffa did not look good. I worry about them at running back too. I worry about Clemson scoring. But they can probably hold App State to 14 or even less because their defense is that good.
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to keep them in the ACC race well into October. Then we'll see what happens from there on. All right, App State Clemson. That's Will's game to watch. I'm going to move on to mine. Will, you can throw it up there. I wish I could make this 90-minute trek down I-10 up to uptown New Orleans, because this is going to be a fun one. Kansas State versus Tulane. Tulane, I mean, look, let's be honest. You can't really go off of past of what's happened in history. 2 years ago, the Green Wave did knock off the Wildcats in Manhattan. They're more than capable of doing it at home. This, for me, is going to be a really, really fun game to watch, Will. And I think just overall, when you look and see how these two teams set up, look, Tulane has weapons. A lot of turnover from last year's team. They do return 11 starters, even amidst a coaching change and a brand new coach coming in and bringing a lot of guys. Probably the best running back in the AAC. One of the better wide receiver rooms in the AAC. Darian Menza, starting quarterback, won that over Ty Thompson. We get to see what he looks like. This game's going to be fun. And I'm dead serious. Amongst people in the LSU beat in the media, we have talked about, can we make it to New Orleans for this kickoff and back for LSU's kickoff as the night game? This can be a fun game. And I will say this too, Will, and I've got to change my camera around so you can talk about this here just for a second when I do this. When you look at a group of 5 team, if there is a world where a group of 5 team could capture an at-large bid, it's the Green Wave. Because if they could win this game and somehow knock off Oklahoma the next week, and let's say they go 12-0 into the conference title game, they lose a close one to Memphis or someone like that, that's a pretty good resume you have as a group of 5 team. And here's step one. You got to win this football game. So I'm excited. I'll let you talk about it. I'm going to switch my camera around before my computer dies on me.
Well, I would say Tulane doesn't necessarily have to win this game or Oklahoma. They just got to play well. They got to play them close. I think Tulane's that good. I think that Tulane, they kind of have the respect nationally, right? If they can win all the games they're supposed to and win the American title game, they'll be in. Because they're a really good team. They do it differently, I think, than a lot of other group of 5 teams. Certainly built on defense, which is what makes them different. But I don't know a ton about these two teams. I think Dr. Bob saying John Summerall will announce himself to the college football world Saturday. Dr. Bob, that will be to all the rock dwellers, because people that know college football know who John Summerall is and know how good he is. And that's not going to be a surprise. It won't be a surprise, certainly to us on this show, and people that really follow college football, that if Tulane won, it really would not be a surprise.
Yeah. Chris Kleiman's crew, Will, you can hear me, I'm guessing, by the way. I had to change some things over. Chris Kleiman's crew, they beat UT Martin 41-6. They were among one of the favorites to win just a crowded Big 12 conference. And, you start to kind of look at this game. I got a couple things I put down here. I think that, and Gavin says this, and Gavin, I don't know if you got the show notes or what's going on here. Gavin says, hey, about Avery Johnson, I think you got to force Avery Johnson to throw the ball and put the ball in harm's way. This is a guy who's a prolific runner, still trying to become more polished as a passer. Is this the game where he does that? And he has a coming out party as the QB1 for Kansas State. That's something that I'm watching in this game. A couple more things. They have a nice backfield combination, DJ Giddens and Dylan Edwards. That name stands out to people, the former Colorado running back that was very, very good for the Buffs last year. Can Kansas State's defense take advantage of a new Tulane offense? That's a massive thing too for me in this. And like I said, history's not a great predictor of what will happen, but I like this. I think this is one of the teams, when you look across the group of 5, Tulane could challenge in the Big 12. Tulane would be I think they'd be a solid team in the ACC this year. I mean, I think it's a well-coached football team, and they have some serious Power 4 talent there too.
They're not it's like Dr. Bob says, what separates Tulane from other G5 programs is the line of scrimmage. They got 2 NFL players on the D-line, and Patrick Jenkins and Aiden Huntington. Yeah, I mean, if you can control the line of scrimmage, you can beat anybody. And I've watched maybe in 2 weeks more ACC than I have in recent years, and I'm with you. I think Tulane would be a serious contender in the ACC if they were in the ACC this year. And they'd be in the pack in the Big 12, the pack of how many teams in the Big 14? Because
47 teams that can win that conference.
I think there's probably 12 teams that could win the Big 12 out of 14.
Yeah, honestly. Wanted to add this too, Dr. Bob. Here's a nugget of information. Both of these two guys, and Aiden Huntington, who was a standout for UL Monroe last year, Patrick Jenkins, these are both names that LSU was trying to get out of the portal. Just for a fun fact for you, all American Conference player Patrick Jenkins, LSU was waiting for him. Like, you want to talk about tampering or something like that? LSU was literally waiting for this kid to put his name in the portal. He never did. Credit to John Sumrall when he got there saying, hey, we got to keep this guy as a cornerstone of our defense. And look, if Ralph was here, he could talk more about it, although I don't know if he would because he'd be so emotionally distraught. A hallmark of John Sumrall has been defense, and that is they're going to play some great defense. You are going to have to earn every yard that you get. I do think Kansas State wins this game, but I think this is a low scoring. I don't know what the exact under is on this total. I might take it. Last time I saw it was 48.5. I think this could be a game of like 27-20. I mean, what's it at now?
It's gone down to 47.
Well, okay, my 27-20 final prediction would literally hit on that. So I think this is going to be a game predicated on defense, and it's going to take maybe a big drive. Like we talked about earlier, I think either Avery Johnson is going to make a big drive and announce himself to the college football world as, hey, I'm not just a runner. But Tulane could also win this game. It'll be a lot of fun. Dr. Bob says LSU needs to stop chickening out and get the battle for the rag back on the schedule. I'd love that. Love that. Will, any kind of final thoughts on this matchup, though?
So your prediction, you have Tulane covering. They're 9-point underdogs.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah. I've got the Green Wave covering.
I like Tulane +9. I do. I think being at home, knowing how they're built, it's a big stage for them. Like you said, if they can win this game and then take care of business in the American, they're a shoe in. They'll be in the playoff. Well,
and I heard you saying this before. I mean, I'm telling, like, they're going to have one of the best at-large G5 resumes if they don't win the American. Mm-hmm. Like, they just will. And even if they do, like, if for some reason Liberty gets put in, okay, good God, at 12-0, and like an American champion if they split this to a Kansas State or Oklahoma win, might be better than a Missouri resume. Like, really, it just might be. I don't know. We'll see. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'd like to see him in the playoff. That's for sure. That's our games to watch. Games to watch. All right, we're gonna get to our best bets here in just a second, but a quick message from one of our sponsors. Hey everyone, Bryce Koon here with the Crowded Booth, and I'm excited to partner with Milton and Drew McCluskey as they get on their new venture, the Cajun Cousins Company. It's an all-stop shop for some of the best food and atmosphere entertainment that you're going to be able to have, especially this fall as college football is right around the corner. What is Cajun Cousins Company? Well, Milt decided to start this business back in Columbia, South Carolina. That's where they're based out of. Drew initially joined him after spending some time with the Saints, but they offer catered Cajun delicacies such as crawfish boils and Aunt Dottie's jambalaya. They bring everything and they can set up anywhere. Look, folks, they're passionate about giving people a reason to gather and to get to the culture that they love so much. They're expanding that brand to the low country of South Carolina, the upstate area, and other areas of the Southeast. So look, if you're going to throw that tailgate party or you're going to have a big gathering, reach out to Cajun Cousins Company today over at CajunCousinsCO.com to get that quote. Tell them the Crowded Booth sent you. We can't wait to see what they have in store this fall. Cajun Cousins Company, we almost had them cater the event in Atlanta, by the way. We just couldn't quite work out the dates they had. They had something going on. Well, we really didn't talk about this game. I just want to throw this out here. I think Kentucky covers against South Carolina if that's still at 10. I think Kentucky might kill South Carolina. That's just my kind of hot take of the evening.
Spread? That is per bet online, Kentucky -9.
I'm taking Wildcats -9. I think their defense is good. They've got an NFL defensive end, big boy, number 6. He's a dude. And I think South Carolina's offense is inept. So that's what I think.
I'm upset about that. I took that game too early.
Brutal. All right, let's get to our best bets. Once again, let's talk about what we've done so far. Ralph and I are 1-1. We'll get Ralph's best bet over on social media, and we'll post those later tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm 1-1. Will's 0-2. But Will, what did you take in week 0? What was your best bet?
Am I going to get killed for repeating it?
No, I'm serious. Like, well, I'm not even trolling. Was it Florida State?
It was Florida State. It was Florida State.
Minus what was that spread again?
I think it was 10.
Wow. Wow.
You have the spreadsheet. You could just pull it up.
It's at -6. Hammer UK. Yeah, you need to get on that action right now. I'm getting on that.
Get on that train, big dog.
Get on that train. All right, this one's presented by Manus Loans. We will
not a real company.
Not a real company. Could set up an LLC as a shell company, though. We'll see, to funnel money through. All right, let's talk our best bets, though. Will, you got yours first. A little bit of sicko committee from me today. I also say, like, I went on a show and we were talking a little bit of betting, and I gave them like the 5 that I sent, and they were like, I got off, and I went and watched the show. As they're like, what is Bryce doing? Like, is he trying to pay off his daughter's college tuition right now? Like, what's going on? And you know me, I'm not even at that level, but I just threw out some out there. All right, your best bet. What's your best bet for week 3 or week 2?
I'm drinking all the Kool-Aid. Auburn -13.5 against Cal. I wrote a preview today. Go check it out. crowdedbooth.substack.com, or that sometimes get stuff written on it. I don't know. Definitely not by me. I definitely am not consistent on there, but I've watched.
We're all going to be better.
What?
So we're all going to be better.
Yes. Go subscribe to the Substack. If you like written stuff. As a sicko, I texted Bryce and Ralph today, showed them a picture of what I was watching. I said I might just go. So I might go self-harm here because I was watching Cal UC Davis, trying to figure out if Auburn's going to win this game. I've watched way too many previews, learned way too much about Cal, and nothing anybody has said has given me any reason to think Cal has any chance in this game. I watched the Justin Wilcox, Cal's head coach's press conference, both their coordinators. Nothing that they said made me think that Cal is going to come to Auburn and have a chance. The hype around Auburn is at a level that I haven't seen in a long, long time. Auburn announced on Tuesday that this game was sold out. 3:30 kicks, going to be hot, humid, not anything like Berkeley. I think Auburn certainly has the weather factor. Auburn hung 73 last week. Everybody's riding high. I think I said in a prediction, what I say, I think 38-13. I have Auburn winning this thing. I mean, I just there's nothing about Cal that gives me pause. I mean, this you can think back to last year's game. Auburn only won 14-10, but this is a completely different offense. It's a much improved, a lot more talent offensively for Auburn, and Cal's pretty much the same as they were last year as far as talent goes. So nothing concerns me here. I would, like I say, 38-13. I'd take Auburn all the way up to a 24-point favorite. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. What can I say?
I will say this for folks that maybe you don't know who Will is. This guy, through the back half of last season, I don't want to say that he was like needed a number to dial at times, but there were times where Ralph and I would text individually and be like, "Is he okay? Like, is he?" And look, hey, we're in
you lose to
September
New
now.
Mexico State, you find some dark places that you didn't know existed.
Look, 9 months later, and you could not be higher on the Tigers. So I don't hate this. I think I don't think Jaden Knott's going to be 100% in this game, and to me that would be
that's
the most dynamic weapon for Cal. And if he's not 110% healthy, we'll see. If Auburn goes and blows the doors off of Cal, the hype train is going to reach an all-time high heading into that first game against Oklahoma here in a couple weeks. So
look, there's 2 games before that one. We got to remember, we can't put the cart in front of the horse. You look at Hugh Freeze's
programs from Mexico.
Yeah, you got to look at Hugh Freeze's track record everywhere he's been. He's lost games that he should have won. So we're taking it one game at a time.
I like it. I'm taking mine to just a beautiful, beautiful um, battle in the state of Texas. This one's known as the I-35 rivalry, the interstate that connects UTSA and, or I should say, San Marcos and San Antonio. I like the Bobcats. I, for some reason, feel like this is easy money. I think Texas State is nasty. I'm buying into the hype of Texas State as the Sun Belt champion this year. UTSA finally lost that left-handed quarterback that they had had for 12 years. He's not there. Um, I don't know. This is I like this. Texas State and Knoxville says cheap Marta Bowl knockoff. I love that. The I-35 rivalry. I mean, what is there not to look? GJ Ken, he's a dude. I mean, he's a dude's dude. He walked around Sunbelt Media Days with a belt buckle, so that's why I'm picking Texas State to win this one, and hopefully go 2-1. We don't have Ralph's pick, but we'll try to get that. But Will, any
Texas
other
State,
lines that you'd like kind of heading into the week? That's
well,
our
I was
best bets.
just gonna mention Texas State has former James Madison quarterback Jordan McLeod as their starting quarterback. And we saw him make a ton of plays last year. Some of these other spreads, we talked about a couple of them. There's some that are interesting. You were really interested in that Boise State Oregon line.
Yeah, I'll give you that one real quick. Here's some things I've got on the docket while we'll look some stuff up. I have Notre Dame. I have Northern Illinois plus 28 against Notre Dame. I think that I'm trying to fade teams coming off a big win, emotional victory down in College Station. I think Northern Illinois, kind of a middle of the pack MAC team, is one that you could be on the lookout for to maybe do some things. Also, Notre Dame is not super explosive. I think they're a grinded out win, some ugly ball games type of team this year. Another one I had, you mentioned Boise, Oregon. Boise put up 56 points against Georgia Southern. They can score. Oregon got off to a slow start, but they can score. I don't think either defense is where they want them to be, and I think a lot of points. So I took the over at 61.5 in that one. And then one more I'll give you here. This was the sixth. This is the one that raised the eyebrows of the show, the talk show I was on today. San Diego State plus 5.5 against Oregon State. Will, do you know who San Diego State's head coach is?
It used to be Brady Hoke. Is it still Brady Hoke?
Sean Lewis, former Kent State head coach that played Georgia very, very well a couple of years ago, was the OC at Colorado. He's the head coach over there. Oregon State did not impress me. San Diego State looked pretty decent. I'm taking them plus 5.5 in that one. So yeah, that's where I sit with that, Will. That's how I'm rolling here going into Saturday.
Yeah, so another game we didn't talk about that I think is going to be a fun one. That it disgusted me to see a tweet about it earlier today. Mississippi State goes to Tempe to play Arizona State. Arizona State's a 5.5-point favorite. Somebody just egregiously has dubbed this Big 12 after dark. The Pac-12 did not die for that. We cannot let Big 12 after dark catch on. That can't happen. Yeah. Pac-12 after dark lives on in memory, and it can't be replaced. But no, Jeff Lebby gets his first crack against a Power 4 team. You've talked a lot about Jeff Lebby liking what he's starting over there at Mississippi State. It's a big opportunity for him because I think Arizona State, I said there was 12 teams that could win the Big 12. I said Arizona State was one of those that could not win the Big 12. I think Kenny Dillingham has a long way to go. Obviously, I like what he does offensively, but I think it's going to be a fun game. Probably going to be a lot of points.
Yeah. Blake Shapian looked pretty good in that offense, comfortable. I know it wasn't against a good opponent. They beat Eastern Kentucky pretty bad, but he just looked comfortable in that game. So, yeah. Dr. Bob says, is Ralph going to have a best bet? Yeah, he's still – I don't even know if he's home yet. If he was, he probably would have hopped in. We'll get that from him. We'll post it on social media. Dr. Bob will message that over to you.
Hey, how about one more? You mentioned Eastern Kentucky. I want to see how nasty that Western Kentucky Eastern Kentucky game goes. They've been sparring on Twitter.
Did you see how they Eastern Kentucky's like, no, we're wearing white. Sorry.
Yeah. They've been sparring.
Alex says USF's not losing to Bama by 31.
I hope so.
We'll hope so for personal reasons. I want to get your thoughts on this. I will not be live doing this show, but we will have a full preview episode of Georgia Tech Syracuse for our Georgia Tech fans. Maxwell says, does GT cover? Will, if I'm still right, this is as Georgia Tech -2.5 on the road. I said this in Tuesday night's show. I think that
It's up to 3. Georgia Tech
it's up
minus
to
3.
3. Okay. I think low-key Kyle McCord against Haynes King could be one of the more underrated quarterback battles of the season. Two guys that maybe don't receive the recognition they should. And I'm not touching this game. Like if it's I'm not touching this game. I don't know, but what? Maybe just a quick thought from you on that matchup, and obviously I'll have a full preview tomorrow.
The over under 62. I don't know. I mean, this is. I feel like Georgia Tech. We feel like we should know more about them. Like they beat Florida State. That was great. Boston College isn't helping Georgia Tech's case. Georgia Tech, and I know we're going to catch flack from this. We already have. Georgia Tech didn't dominate Georgia State like we kind of thought they would. Georgia State came ready to play. Going to Syracuse is always tough. Going into what used to be called the Carrier Dome. I don't know what they're calling it now. What corporate sponsorship they got now?
Wireless or something like that.
Something.
Dome now, yeah.
It's a tough environment. Syracuse is a totally different team than we've seen the last couple of years. It's got the potential to be fun, but 62, I'm leaning toward the under there. I feel like this might turn into a defensive struggle.
Yeah, I don't have a great read. I mean, I've got some notes that I've got written down. I'll have that preview out. We'll release that at noon tomorrow on the channel. So make sure. And once again, just a lot of stuff going on this week. So I wasn't really able to do my full slate of Georgia Tech shows. I'm with you there. I think Georgia Tech, the best way you could talk about last week, Will, we were there, we watched it in person, was they took care of business. It never felt like they were going to lose.
No,
but they
never once felt that way.
No, but they didn't dominate. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, look, for Georgia Tech to go, this would be the first time they've gone 2-0 in ACC play in a number of years. I believe 2017 is the last time they went, when they beat North Carolina and somebody. I could be wrong on that. But this is a chance to really jump out and get 2 early ACC wins, put yourself in a driver's seat for a spot to Charlotte. So it's going to be a fun game. And Fran Brown's got a talented team.
Yeah, he does. It's been a lot of fun for me. With you covering Georgia Tech and being more plugged into Georgia Tech, the questions being asked this week from a fan base ranked 23rd it's been questions I don't think I've ever seen asked before. It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And I don't mean that as a shot at anybody or Georgia Tech in general. It's been different. It's, obviously I'm an Auburn fan, follow Auburn closely. They've been ranked most weeks of my lifetime. So, the last couple of years of not being ranked has been different, but, I mean, it's been different. It's a different experience.
Well, and like Will said, I'm going to preface it because I believe I understand where he's coming from. It's not that it's a shot. It's just, it kind of makes you take a step back and say, wow, like they really have not been ranked since, like, they made a big deal out of being ranked, whereas, other teams just like, oh yeah, like, okay, the AP poll was released, we're number 27 or 24. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Yeah. Whereas, like, it's awesome. And that's cool. That's fun. It's fun.
It is fun.
I will say this. I selfishly hope that we get to watch Georgia Tech go to Louisville, both teams undefeated in the top 20. That would be amazing. But we'll have
I hope that I can go to that Georgia Tech Notre Dame game in the Benz and we're looking at a couple of undefeated or a one-loss team. I mean,
yeah,
we look ahead a couple weeks to that game. That's going to probably be the marquee matchup on a big stage in the Benz. True. And Georgia Tech fans, wanting to get out of this deal to play a game in Mercedes-Benz, I don't get it. Mercedes-Benz, I mean, that's like the Taj Mahal of football stadiums, of football facilities. There's some bias there, but it is. If Auburn played a game there every year, I wouldn't complain.
Yeah, no, it's it has nothing to do with the fact that he'd probably be able to go for free. But
no, nothing. It's a great place to catch a football game.
It is. And whatever you want, concert, make sure to check out Katie.whatever at Mercedes-Benz.com for all your needs on that.
This is not a plug.
She's an official sponsor of the show. Just her as an entity. Hey, my name is Bryce Koon, Will Manis, Ralph Leary driving around. We will get we'll get you Ralph's pick in, and make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Like I said, for Georgia Tech fans, tomorrow noon Eastern, we'll have that show out. So make sure you stay tuned to that. And like Will said, more written content on the way. We're going to buckle down and do a lot of that as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. My name's Bryce Koon, Will Manis, Crowded Booth, Week 2 college football preview on tap. And we'll catch you next time, once again, Monday night for a Week 2 reaction. Until then, we'll see you.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.